Chapter 13. Pramana and Prameya. Late the next afternoon, at the time of Goduli, when the air is thick with the dust clouds raised by the cows returning to the Goshala, Brajanath arrived at Shivasangan. He sat on the raised platform under the dense foliage of the Bakula tree and waited for the elderly Babaji Maharaj. Babaji was waiting in his bhajang kutir, and for some unknown reason Vatsalya Bhav had arisen in his heart towards Brajanath. As soon as a slight sound outside indicated Brajanath's arrival, Babaji came out and, lovingly embracing him, took him into his kutir, which was situated at one side of the courtyard in an arbour of kunda flowers. There he offered him a seat and sat beside him. Brajanath took the dust of Babaji Maharaj's feet on his head. Feeling blessed, he said humbly, "O great soul, yesterday you told me that you would instruct me on Dashamula, the fundamental principles of Nimai Pandit's teachings. Kindly bestow this knowledge upon me now." When Brajanath asked this wonderful question, Babaji Mahashai became very happy and said affectionately, "My son, I shall first explain to you the Sutra Shloka of Dashamula, wherein the 10 ontological truths of Dashamula are set out in a condensed form. You are a scholar, so by proper deliberation you will be able to comprehend the true meaning of this shloka. Amnaya praha tattvam harim iha, paramam sarva shaktim rasabdim, tad binam sangscha jivan prakriti, kavalitan tad vimuktamscha bavad, Beda Bed Prakasham, Sakalam Api Hare, Sadhanam Shuddha Bhaktim, Sadyam Tat Pritim, Eve Tupadishati, Janan Gorachandra Swayam Saha. Pramana. The teachings of the Vedas received through Guru Parampara are known as Amnaya. The infallible evidence of the Vedas, of the Shmriti Shastras headed by Srimad Bhagavatam, as well as evidence such as direct perception, pratyaksha, that concur with the guidance of the Vedas, are all accepted as Pramana, evidence. This Pramana establishes the following Prameyas, fundamental truths. Paramatattva, Sri Hari alone is the supreme absolute truth. Sarva Shaktiman, Sri Krishna is the possessor of all potency. Akila Rasamrita Sindhu, he is the ocean of nectarian mellows. Bibinanksa Tattva, both the mukta, liberated, and bada, conditioned jivas, are his eternally separated parts and parcels. Bada jivas, conditioned souls are subject to the control and covering of Maya. Mukta jivas, liberated souls are free from Maya. Achintya Beda Bed Tattva, the entire universe, consisting of the conscious Chit and unconscious Achit, is Sri Hari's Achintya Beda Bed Prakash. That is to say, it is his manifestation which is inconceivably both different and non-different from him. Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotional service, is the only practice sadhan to attain perfection. And Krishna Priti, transcendental love and affection for Krishna, is the one and only final object of attainment, Sadhya Vastu. Swayam Bhagavan Sri Gaurangadev has herein instructed 10 distinct tattvas, fundamental truths to the faithful jivas. The first of these is Pramana Tattva, and the remaining 9 are Prameya Tattva. First you should understand the meaning of Pramana. That subject which is established by Pramana, evidence or proof, is known as Prameya, that which is proved, and that by which Prameya is proved is known as Pramana. These 10 fundamental tattvas, Dashmula Tattva, are set out in the shloka that I have just recited. The next shloka will be the first actual shloka of the Dashamula, and it elaborates on the first of the Dashamula tattvas, namely the authoritative Vedic literature, Amnaya or Pramana Tattva. From the 2nd to the 8th shloka, Sambandha Tattva is described. The 9th shloka describes Abhideya Tattva, which is the sadhan for attaining the ultimate goal. And the 10th shloka describes Prayojan Tattva, which is the sadhya, goal itself. When Brajanath had heard the meaning of the shloka, he said, Babaji Maharaj, I do not have anything to ask now. If any question occurs to me after hearing the next shloka, I will submit it at your lotus feet. Now kindly explain the first shloka of the Dasamula. Babaji, very good. Now listen attentively. Svata siddho vedo hari, dayata veda pabritita, pramanam sat praptam pramiti, vishayantan navavidan, tata pratyakshati pramiti, sahitam sadayati na yuktis tarka kya pravishyati, tata shakti rahita. Dashmula 1. The self-evident Vedas, which have been received in the Sampradaya through the Guru Parampara by recipients of Sri Hari's mercy, such as Brahmaji and others, are known as Amnaya Vakya. The 9 Prameya Tattvas are established by these Amnaya Vakyas with the help of other Pramans that follow the guidance of these Shastras, such as evidence obtained by direct perception, pratyaksha. Reasoning that is only based on logic is always crippled when evaluating inconceivable subject matters, since logic and argument have no access in the realm of the inconceivable. Brajanath, is there any evidence within the Vedas to show that Brahmaji gave instruction through disciplic succession? Babaji, yes, there is. In the Mundaka Upanishad 1.1.1, it is stated, Brahma Devanam Pratama Samba Bhuva, Vishvasya Karta Bhuvanasya Gopta, Sabrahma Vidyam Sarva Vidya Pratishtam, Atharvaya Jeshta Putraya Praha. Brahmaji, who is the creator of the entire universe and the protector of the worlds, was the first Deva to appear. He gave complete instructions on Brahma Vidya, the basis of all knowledge, to his eldest son Atharva. It is also stated further on in the Mundaka Upanishad 1.2.13, Yenaksharam Purusham Veda Satyam Pravachatam Tattvato Brahma Vidyam. Brahma Vidya is knowledge that reveals the true Swarup of Parabrahma, the indestructible Purushottam. Brajanath, do you have any evidence that the rishis who compile the Smriti Shastras have given the correct explanation of the Vedas in them? Babaji, evidence for this is given in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.14.3, the crest jewel of all Shastras. Kalena nasta pralaye vaniyam veda samnita, mayado brahmane prakta dharmo yasyam mad atmaka, teno prakta sva putraya manaive purva jayasa, tato brigvadayo grinam satta brahma mahashaya. Sri Bhagavan said, by the influence of time, the Vedas containing my instructions on Bhagavat Dharma were lost when the cosmic devastation occurred. At the beginning of the next Brahma Kalpa, at the time of creation, I again instructed Brahma in the same Veda, which is identical with myself. Brahma instructed his son Manu in the Vedic knowledge, and Manu in turn instructed the same science to the 7 Brahma Rishis, headed by Bhrigu. Brajanath, what is the necessity for a sampradaya? Babaji, most people in this world accept the shelter of Mayavad philosophy and follow that inauspicious path which is devoid of bhakti. Consequently, if there is no separate sampradaya for those who practice Shuddha Bhakti that is untainted by the faults of Mayavad, it would be very difficult to attain genuine satsanga. Therefore, it is stated in the Padma Purana, Sampradaya Vihina Ye Mantras Te Vifala Mataha, Shri Brahmarudra Sanaka Vaishnavakshiti Pavanaha. Vaishnavacharyas in the 4 Sampradayas, namely Ramanuja in the Sri Sampradaya, Madhvacharya in the Brahma Sampradaya, Vishnu Swami in the Rudra Sampradaya, and Nimbaditya in the Chatushana Sampradaya purify the whole universe. Diksha mantras not received from the acharyas in one of these four sampradayas will be fruitless. Of these four, the Brahma Sampradaya is the most ancient and has continued through the disciplic succession until the present day. These sampradayas adhere to the system of Guru Parampara, and they have brought the Vedanta and other supremely auspicious literatures unchanged from the most ancient times, and by the potency of the system of Parampara, there is not the slightest chance that they have made any change or eliminated any portion. There is therefore no reason to doubt the literature that the Sampradaya has authorized. Sampradaya is an effective and indispensable arrangement, and for this reason the Sat Sampradaya system is continuing amongst saints and sadhus from the most ancient times. Brajanath, are the names of all the acharyas in the Sampradaya available in order of succession? Babaji, only the names of the most prominent acharyas who have appeared from time to time are mentioned. Brajanath, I would like to hear the Guru Parampara of the Brahma Sampradaya. Babaji, listen. Paravyomeshvarasyaschich chisyo Brahma Jagatpati tasya shishyo narado buddh vyasas tasya pasishyatam. Brahma, the master of the universe, is the disciple of Parameshvara, Sri Narayan, and Naraji became the disciple of Brahma. Vyasadeva became the disciple of Naraji. Shuko Vyasyasa Shishyatvam Prapto Jnana Varodhanat Vyasal Labdo Krishna Diksho Madhavacharyo Mahayasa. Sri Sukadev Ji became the disciple of Sri Vyasadeva in order to check the spread of impersonal Gyan. The celebrated Madhavacharya also received Krishna Diksha from Sri Vyasadeva. Narahari became the twice-born Shishya of Madhavacharya. Tasya Shishyo Naraharis Takchisyo Madhavo Dvija Akshobhyas Tasya Shishyo Bhut Chakchisyo Jayatirtika. Madhava Dvija became the disciple of Narahari. Akshobhya was Madhava Dvija's disciple and accepted Jayatirtha as his disciple. Tasya Sisyo Jnanasindhus Tasya Sisyo Mahanidhi Vidyanidhis Tasya Sisyo Rajendras Tasya Sevakaha. Jnanasindhu became the disciple of Jayatirtha. Mahanidhi became Jnanasindhu's disciple and accepted Vidyanidhi as his disciple, and Rajendra became the disciple of Vidyanidhi. Jayadharmo Munistasya Shishyo Yad Ganamadyata Srimad Vishnu Puri Yastu Bhakti Ratna Valikritahi. Jayadharma Muni became the disciple of Rajendra, and one of his followers, named Sri Vishnu Puri, who composed Bhakti Ratnavali, was a prominent acharya. Jayadharmasya Shishyo Buddh Brahmanya Purushottamaha Vyasa Tirthastasya Shishyo Yaschakre Vishnu Samhitam. Jayadharma's disciple was Brahmanya Purushottam, who in turn accepted Vyasatirtha, the author of Vishnu Samhita, as his disciple. Shrimal Lakshmi Patistasya Shishyo Bhakti Rashashraya Tasya Shishyo Madhavendro Yad Dharmo Yam Pravartitaha. Sri Lakshmi Pati became the disciple of Vyasatirtha, and Madhavendra Puri, who was the epitome of Bhakti Ras and who propagated Bhakti Dharma, was the disciple of Lakshmipati. Brajanath, in the first shloka of Dashamula, the Vedas are accepted as the sole evidence, Praman, whereas the other Pramans, such as Pratyaksha, direct perception, are accepted as evidence only when they follow the Vedas. However, philosophies such as Nyaya and Sankhya have accepted further types of evidence. Well-versed readers of the Puranas have accepted 8 types of Praman: Pratyaksha, direct perception; Anumana, inference based on generalized experience; Upaman, analogy; Shabda, revealed knowledge; Aitiha, traditional instruction; Artapati, inference from circumstances; Sambhav, speculation; and Anupaladhi, understanding something by its non-perception. Why are there so many opinions regarding Praman? And if direct perception and inference based on experience are not counted amongst the perfect Pramans, how is it possible to get real understanding? Kindly enlighten me. Babaji, Pratyaksha and other types of evidence depend on the senses, but since the senses of the conditioned jiva are always subject to Brahm, illusion, Pramada, error, Vipralipsa, cheating, and Karanapatava, imperfection of senses, how can the knowledge acquired through the senses be factual and faultless? The fully independent possessor of all potencies, Sri Bhagavan himself, personally manifested as perfect Vedic knowledge within the pure hearts of the great Maharishis and saintly Acharyas, who were situated in full samadhi. Therefore, the Vedas, who are the embodiment of Swata Siddha Gyan, self-manifest pure knowledge, are always faultless and fully dependable as evidence. Brajanath, please help me to understand clearly each of the terms, Brahm, Pramada, Vipralapsa, and Karanapatava. Babaji, Brahm, illusion, is the Bada Jiva's false impression of reality resulting from faulty knowledge gathered through imperfect senses. For example, in the desert, the rays of the sun sometimes produce a mirage, which creates the impression of water. This fault of making errors and mistakes is called pramad. Since the material intelligence of the Bada Jiva is by nature limited, mistakes are inevitably present in whatever siddhanta his limited intelligence discerns in relation to the unlimited Paratattva. Vipralipsa is the cheating propensity. This is manifest when one, whose intelligence is limited by time and space, is suspicious and reluctant to believe in the activities and authority of Ishvara, who is far beyond time and space. Our senses are imperfect and ineffective, and this is known as Karanapatava. Because of this, we cannot avoid making mistakes in everyday circumstances. For example, when we see an object suddenly, we may mistake it for something else and draw faulty conclusions. Brajanath, do Pratyaksha and other Pramans have no value at all as evidence? Babaji, what means do we have to gain knowledge of this material sphere, except through direct perception and other Pramans? Nonetheless, they can never give knowledge about the spiritual world, Chit Jagat, for they cannot enter into it. That is why the Vedas are certainly the one and only Praman for gaining knowledge about the Chit Jagat. The evidence gained from Pratyaksha and other Pramans is only worth considering when it follows the guidelines of the self-evident Vedic knowledge. Otherwise its evidence can be discarded. That is why the self-evident Vedas are the only evidence. Pratyaksha and other Pramanas can also be accepted as evidence, but only if they are in pursuance of the Vedas. Brajanath, are literatures such as the Gita and the Bhagavatam not counted as Praman? Babaji, the Bhagavad Gita is called an Upanishad, Gita Upanishad, because it is the Vani, instructions of Bhagavan. Hence the Gita is Veda. Similarly, Dashamula Tattva is also Bhagavat Vani, because it is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions, so it is also Veda. Srimad Bhagavatam is the crest jewel of all the Pramans, because it is the compilation of the essence of the meaning of the Vedas. The instructions of different Shastras are authoritative evidence only as long as they follow the Vedic knowledge. There are three types of Tantra Shastras: Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic. Of these, the Pancharatra and so on are the Sattvic group, and they are accepted as evidence because they expand the confidential meaning of the Veda. Brajanath. There are many books in the Vedic line. Which of these may be accepted as evidence, and which may not? Babaji. In the course of time, unscrupulous and untruthful personalities have interpolated many chapters, mandalas, and mantras into the Vedas in order to fulfill various self-interests. Those parts that were added at a later time are called prakshipta, interpolated parts. It is not that we should accept any and every Vedic text as reliable evidence. Those Vedic granthas, sacred books, that the acharyas in the Sat Sampradayas have accepted as evidence are definitely Veda and are authoritative evidence. But we should reject literature or parts of literature that they have not recognized. Brajanath. Which Vedic granthas have the acharyas of the Sat Sampradayas accepted? Babaji. Isha, Kena, Kata, Prashna, Mundaka, Mundukya, Taittiriya, Aitareya, Chandogya, Brihat Aranyaka, and Svetashvatara. These 11 Sattvic Upanishads are accepted, and so are Gopala Upanishad, Nrsinga Tapani, and some other Tapanis that are helpful in worship. The acharyas have also accepted Brahmanas and mandalas as Vedic literature, as long as they expand the Vedas, following the guidance of Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva. We receive all the Vedic literatures from the acharyas in the Sat Sampradayas, so we can accept them as evidence from a bona fide source. Brajanath. Is there any evidence in the Veda to show that logic cannot enter into transcendental subject matter? Babaji. There are many famous statements in the Vedas, such as Naishya Tarkena Matir Apanyeya. O Nachiketa, whatever intelligence you have gained regarding Atma Tattva should not be destroyed by logic, Tarka. Kata Upanishad 129. And the statements from Vedanta Sutra, such as Tarka Pratishtanat, arguments based on logic, have no foundation and cannot be used to establish any conclusions about the conscious reality, because a fact that someone establishes by logic and argument today can be refuted tomorrow by someone who is more intelligent and qualified. Therefore, the process of argumentation is said to be unfounded and baseless. Brahma Sutra 2.1.11. Furthermore, it is said, Achintyaha kaluye bhava na tam starke no yo jayet prakriti bhya param yakcha tad achintasya lakshanam. Mahabharat Bhishma Parva 5.22. All transcendental tattvas are beyond material nature and are therefore inconceivable. Dry arguments are within the jurisdiction of material nature, so they can only be applied in mundane subject matters. They cannot even come close to transcendental tattvas, what to speak of grasping them. As far as inconceivable conceptions are concerned, the application of dry arguments is undesirable and useless. This shloka of the Mahabharata establishes the limits of logic, and Sri Rupa Goswami, the Acharya of Bhakti Marg, has therefore written in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Eastern Division 1.1.32, Svalpapi ruchir eva syat, bhakti tattva vabodhika, yuktis tu kevala naiva, yad asya apratishtata. One can comprehend Bhakti Tattva when one has gained even a little taste for Shastras that establish Bhakti Tattva, such as Srimad Bhagavatam. However, one cannot understand this Bhakti Tattva by dry logic alone, because logic has no basis and there is no end to arguments. Nothing genuine can be ascertained by logic and argument, as this ancient statement proves. Yatneno padito pyatar, kushaler anumatri bihi, abhiyuktatarer anyer, anyataivo papadyate. Any logician can clearly establish any subject matter using arguments, but someone who is more expert in argument can easily refute him. You use logic to establish one Siddhanta today, but a more intelligent and qualified logician will be able to refute it tomorrow, so why would you rely on logic? Brajanath: Babaji, I have fully understood that the Veda, which is to say, knowledge that is swata siddha, self-evident, is Praman. Some logicians argue against the Vedas, but their efforts are fruitless. Now please be merciful and explain the second shlok of Dasamula Tattva. Babaji: Haristvekam tattvam vidi, Shiva Shuresha pranamitaha, Yad evedam brahma prakriti, Rahitam tattva anumahaha. Paratma tasyam sho jagat, Anugato vishva janaka, Savairadha kanto nava, Jaladakantish chid udaya. Indeed, Sri Hari, to whom Brahma, Shiva, Indra, and other devatas continuously offer pranam, is the only supreme absolute truth. Nirvishesh Brahm, that is devoid of Shakti, is Sri Hari's bodily effulgence. Mahavishnu, who has created the universe and who has entered into it as the indwelling supersoul of all, is simply his partial manifestation. It is that Sri Hari alone, the very form of transcendental reality, Chit Swarup, whose complexion is the color of a freshly formed thundercloud, who is Sri Radha Ballabha, the beloved of Sri Radha. Brajanath: The Upanishads describe Brahman, which is transcendental to affiliation with matter, to be the supreme truth. So what argument or evidence has Sri Gaura Hari used to establish Brahman as Sri Hari's bodily effulgence? Babaji: Sri Hari is certainly Bhagavan, whose true nature has been ascertained in the Vishnu Purana, 6.5.74. Aishvaryasya samagrasya, viryasya yashaya shriya, jnana vairagya yoschaiva, sanam bhaga itingana. Bhagavan is the supreme absolute truth, endowed with 6 inconceivable qualities: complete opulence, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. Now, there is a mutual relationship amongst these qualities of body, angi, and limbs, anga. The question may arise, which of these qualities is angi, and which are angas? The angi, body, is that within which the angas, limbs, are included. For example, a tree is angi, and the leaves and branches are the angas. The body is angi, and the feet and hand are its angas. Therefore the principal quality, angi guna, represents the body, and to that quality all the other qualities, anga gunas, are arranged as its limbs. The angi guna of Bhagavan's transcendental form is his resplendent beauty, Shri, and the 3 qualities, opulence, Aishwarya, strength, Virya, and fame, Yasha, are his angas, limbs. The remaining 2 qualities, knowledge, Gyan, and renunciation, Vairagya, are the effulgence of the quality of fame, because Gyan and Vairagya are only attributes of a quality, and not original qualities in their own right. Thus Gyan and Vairagya are actually Nirvikara Gyan, which is the intrinsic, constitutional form of the Nirvishesh Brahm, and that Brahman is the bodily effulgence of the spiritual world. The changeless, inactive, Nirvishesh Brahm, which exists without body, limbs, and so on, is not in itself a complete tattva. Rather, it depends on the transcendental form of Bhagavan. Brahman is therefore not a supreme vastu, entity, that exists in its own right. It is a quality of the vastu. Bhagavan is indeed that Vastu, and Brahman is his quality, just as the light of a fire is not a complete and independent tattva, but only a quality that depends on the fire. Rajanath. The impersonal, nirvishesh qualities of Brahman are described in many places in the Vedas, and at the end of these descriptions, the mantra Om Shanti Shanti Hari Om is always used to describe the Supreme Truth, Sri Hari. Who is this Sri Hari? Babaji. That Sri Hari is in fact Chit Leela Mituna, the combined form of Radha and Krishna, who performs divine pastimes. Rajanath. I will inquire into this subject later. Now kindly tell me, how is Paramatma, the creator of the universe, a partial manifestation of Bhagavan? Babaji. Pervading everything by his qualities of Aishwarya and Virya, power, and creating all the universes, Bhagavan enters every universe by his Angsa, partial manifestation, Vishnu. Every Angsa of Bhagavan always remains complete. None of them are ever incomplete. Puranam adahar Puranam idam, Puranat Puranam udachyate, Purnasya Purnam ardaya, Purnam eva vashishyate. Brihat Aranyaka Upanishad 5.1 and Isopanishad, the invocation. The Avatari Purush, the origin of all avatars, is complete and perfect. Because he is completely perfect, all avatars emanating from him are also complete. All that emanates from the Supreme Complete is complete. Even if the complete is subtracted from the complete, he still remains complete. In no way does that Parameshwara experience any diminution. Therefore, that complete whole, Vishnu, who enters the universe and controls it, is certainly the indwelling Supersoul Paramatma. That Vishnu has three forms, Karanadokshayi Vishnu, Shiradokshayi Vishnu, and Garbhadokshayi Vishnu. Karanadokshayi Vishnu, who is a partial manifestation of Sri Bhagavan, situates himself on the causal ocean, or the Viraja river, which extends between the Chit and the Mayic worlds. From there, he glances over Maya, who is situated far away, and by this glance the material world is created. Bhagavan Sri Krishna has described the creation of the material world in Srimad Bhagavad Gita 9.10. Maya dakshena prakriti suryate sacharacharam. Under my superintendence, my illusory energy creates the universe full of moving and non-moving beings. Then it is said, Sa Aikshata, that Paramatma glanced, Aitareya Upanishad 1.1.1. Sa Imal Lokan Asrajat, that Paramatma created the universe of moving and non-moving entities after glancing over his Maya. Aitareya Upanishad 1.1.2. Karanadokshayi Vishnu's power of glancing, which enters Maya, becomes Garbhadokshayi Vishnu, and the localized atoms in the rays of the transcendental glance of that Mahavishnu are the conditioned souls. And in the heart of every jiva, Ishvara is situated as a thumb-sized expansion of Shiradokshayi Vishnu, also known as Hiranyagarbha. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 4.6 states, Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakaya. The jiva and Paramatma are in the heart of the jiva like two birds on the branch of a tree. One of these birds is Ishvara, who awards the results of fruit of activity, and the other bird is the jiva, who is tasting the fruits of his actions. Sri Bhagavan has expressed this tattva as follows in the Gita Upanishad 10.41. Yad yad vibhutimat sattvam, Shrimad ujitam eva va, tat tad eva vagachatvam, mama tejang sasambhavam. You should understand that all opulence, existence, splendor, and potency have come from a tiny part of my opulence. Therefore, Arjuna, what is the necessity of understanding all of my attributes separately? Simply understand that by an expansion of myself, I have created this entire creation, and I thereby pervade it fully. Therefore, the attributes of God, such as being the creator and maintainer of the universe, are manifested in Paramatma, the partial manifestation, Angsa Swarup, of Paramapurush Bhagavan. Brajanath. I understand that Brahman is Sri Hari's bodily effulgence, and that Paramatma is his part. However, what evidence is there that Bhagavan Sri Hari is Krishna himself? Babaji. Sri Krishna Bhagavan is eternally manifest in two features, one of Aishwarya, opulence and majesty, and the other of Madhurya, sweetness. The feature of Aishwarya is Narayan, who is the master of the spiritual sky Vaikuntha and the origin of Mahavishnu. Sri Krishna is the complete embodiment of the Madhurya feature. This Sri Krishna is the utmost limit of complete sweetness. Indeed, his sweetness is so great that its rays completely cover his Aishwarya. From the perspective of Siddhanta or Tattva, there is no difference between Narayan and Krishna. However, when we consider the degree of ras to be tasted in the spiritual world, Krishna is not only the foundation of all ras, but he himself, being the very form of ras, is also Parama Upadaya Tattva, the supremely pleasing being. We find evidence in the Vedas, Upanishads and Puranas that Sri Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan Sri Hari. For example, the Rig Veda 1.12, 164-31 states, Apashyam gopam anipadyama nama, chapara cha pratibis charantam sa sadrichi, savishu chirvashana avarir varti bhuvaneshvantaha. I saw a boy who appeared in the dynasty of cowherds. He is infallible and is never annihilated. He wanders on various paths, sometimes near and sometimes very far. Sometimes he is beautifully adorned with various garments, and sometimes he wears cloth of only one color. In this way, he repeatedly exhibits his manifest and unmanifest pastimes. In addition, in the Chandogya Upanishad 8.13.1 it is stated, Samach chabalam prabhadye, sabalach chamam prabhadye. By rendering seva to Shyam, one attains his transcendental abode, which is full of spiritual bliss and astonishing variegated leelas. And within that Chit Jagat, one attains the eternal shelter of Shyam. Another understanding of this shloka is that the word Shyam refers to Krishna, and the word Shyam or Krishna, meaning black, describes the Nirgun Paratattva, which, like black, is colorless. While the word Shabala, meaning Gaura, refers to one who is endowed with variegated colors. In other words, when Paratattva is endowed with all transcendental qualities, he is called Gaura. The secret meaning of this mantra is that one attains Gaura by performing Krishna Bhajan, and one attains Krishna by performing Gaura Bhajan. This and other mantras describe the activities of the liberated and perfected jivas even after the stage of mukti. We read in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28, Ete chamsa kala pumsha Krishna stu Bhagavam Swayam. Rama, Nrsimha, and the other avatars are all portions, anksas, or plenary portions, kala, of the Supreme Personality Sri Bhagavan. But Sri Krishna is that original Bhagavan himself. In the Gita Upanishad 7.7, Sri Krishna himself says, Mataha parataram nanyet kinchid asti dhananjaya. O Arjun, there is nothing superior to me. It is also said in the Gopala Tapani Upanishad, Purva 2.8, Eko vashi saravaga Krishna idya, Eko pi san bahuda yo vabhati. Sri Krishna is the all-pervasive, non-dual Para-Brahma who controls everything. He is the only worshipable object for all the devatas, for mankind, and for all other life forms. Although he is one, Through his Achintya Shakti, he manifests many forms and performs many varieties of Leelas. Brajanath. But how can Sri Krishna be all-pervading if he has a medium-sized human-like form? If we accept that he has form, it means that he can only stay in one place at a time, and that gives rise to so many philosophical discrepancies. The first is that he cannot be the all-pervading tattva if he has a form and body. Secondly, if he has a body, he will be limited by the material modes of nature. So how can he be independent and have limitless and absolute authority? How can this be reconciled? Babaji. My dear son, you are now thinking like this because you are bound by the qualities of Maya. As long as the intelligence remains bound by material qualities, it cannot touch Suddha-sattva. If such conditioned intelligence attempts to exceed its own limitations, trying to understand Shuddha-tattva, it superimposes Mayic forms and qualities on Shuddha-tattva, and thus conceives of a material form of transcendence. After some time, the intellect rejects this form as being temporary, mutable, and subject to the material modes, and then it imagines the Nirvishesh Brahm. That is why one cannot gain an understanding of the Supreme Absolute Truth through the intelligence. Whatever limitations you are inferring about the transcendental, medium-sized form are completely unfounded. The qualities of being formless, immutable, and inactive are simply the opposite of material qualities, so they are themselves a type of material quality. However, Sri Krishna also has qualities that are of an altogether different nature. For example, his beautiful blossoming smiling face, his lotus eyes, his beautiful lotus feet, which bestow fearlessness and peace upon his bhaktas, and his spiritual form, which is the pure embodiment of transcendence, with limbs and body just suitable for varieties of playful sports. The medium-sized Sri Vigraha, that is the very basis of these two types of qualities, form and all-pervasiveness, is supremely pleasing. The Narada Pancharatra describes his extreme attractiveness to the mind, and this description is replete with all Siddhanta. Nirdosha guna vigraha atmatantro, nischaitanatmaka sarira gunescha hina, ananda matra karapada mukarodaradi, sarvatra cha svagata, veda vivarjitatma. Sri Krishna's transcendental body is composed of eternity, consciousness, and bliss, without even a trace of material qualities. He is not subject to material time or space. On the contrary, he exists fully at all places and in all times simultaneously. His form and existence are the embodiment of absolute non-duality, Advaya Gyan Swarup Vastu. Direction, space, is an unlimited entity in the material world. By material estimation, only a formless object can be unlimited or all-pervading. An entity with a medium-sized form cannot. However, this conception only applies in the material world. In the spiritual world, all objects and their intrinsic natures and attributes are unlimited, so Sri Krishna's medium-sized form is also all-pervading. Medium-sized objects in this material world do not have this quality of all-pervasiveness, but it is charmingly manifest in Sri Krishna's medium-sized Vigraha. That is the supramundane glory of his transcendental Vigraha. Can such glorious attributes be found in the conception of the all-pervading Brahman? Material substances are always limited by time and space. If an entity who is naturally beyond the effects of time is compared to the all-pervading sky, which is limited by time and space, then is not that entity, beyond the influence of time, incomparably greater? Sri Krishna's Braja Dham is none other than the Brahmapura, which is mentioned in the Chandogya Upanishad. This Braja Dham is a completely transcendental reality, and is comprised of all types of transcendental variety. Everything in that place, the earth, water, rivers, mountains, trees, creepers, animals, birds, sky, sun, moon, and constellations, is transcendental and is devoid of material flaws or shortcomings. Conscious pleasure is present always and everywhere, in its fullest form. My dear son, this Mayapur Navadvip is that self-same spiritual abode. You are unable to perceive it, however, because you are bound in Maya's snare. But when, by the mercy of saints and sadhus, spiritual consciousness arises in your heart, you will then perceive this land as the spiritual Dham, and then only will you achieve the perfection of Brajavas, residence in Braj. Who has told you that there must be material merits and faults wherever there is a medium-sized form? You cannot realize the actual glories of the transcendental medium-sized form as long as your intelligence is bound up in material impressions. Brajanath, no intelligent person can have any doubts about this point. However, I would like to know when, where, and how Krishna's spiritual Vigraha, Dham, and Leela are manifested within material limitations. Since Sri Radha Krishna's Vigraha and bodily complexion and their Leelas, associates, houses, pastime groves, forests, and all the objects in the spiritual world are transcendental. Babaji, Sri Krishna possesses all potencies, so even that which appears to be impossible is actually possible for him. What is astonishing in this? He is the all-potent personality, Sarva Shaktiman Purush, the fully independent supreme controller who is completely autocratic and imbued with Leela. Simply by his desire, he can appear in this material world in his self-same spiritual form, along with his spiritual abode. How can there be any doubt about this? Brajanath, by his desire, he can do everything, and he can manifest his purely spiritual form in this material world. That much is clear. However, materialistic people tend to think that Sri Krishna's own transcendental abode that is manifest here is simply a part of this material universe, and they perceive his Braja Leela to be just like ordinary Mayic activities. Why is this? Why can't worldly people see Krishna's self-manifest, spiritual form as Sat Chit Ananda, when he mercifully appears in this world of birth and death? Babaji, one of Krishna's unlimited transcendental qualities is his Bhakta Vatsalya, affection for his bhaktas. Because of this quality, his heart melts, and through his Hladini Shakti, he bestows upon his bhaktas a type of spiritual potency that enables them to have direct darshan of his self-manifest form and his transcendental pastimes. However, the non-devotee's eyes, ears, and other senses are made up of Maya, so they can see no difference between Bhagavan's spiritual pastimes and the mundane events in human history. Brajanath, then does this mean that Bhagavan Sri Krishna did not descend to bestow mercy upon all jivas? Babaji, Bhagavan certainly descends to benefit the whole world. The bhaktas see his descent and Leela as transcendental, whereas the non-devotees perceive them as ordinary human affairs which take place under the influence of material principles. Even so, these Leelas have the power to bestow a type of spiritual merit, Sukriti, and as this Sukriti gradually accumulates, one is nourished so that one develops one-pointed Shraddha towards Krishna Bhakti. That is why Bhagavan's descent certainly benefits all the jivas in the universe, because jivas who possess such Shraddha and perform Ananya Bhakti Sadhan, unalloyed devotional service, will one day be able to see Bhagavan's transcendental form and Leela. Brajanath, why is Krishna Leela not distinctly described throughout the Vedas? Babaji, the pastimes of Sri Krishna are described here and there in the Vedas, but in some places they are described directly and in other places indirectly. Two types of expressions or tendencies determine the meaning of words in a text: the direct or literal sense avidya, or the indirect and secondary sense, lakshana. These are also called mukhya vritti and gona vritti respectively. The literal sense, abhidha vritti, of the mantra, Shamyak Chabalam Prapadye, in the last section of the Chandogya Upanishad, describes the eternality of ras and the service attitude of the liberated jivas towards Krishna according to their respective rasa. The indirect meaning of the words is called gona vritti, secondary significance. In the beginning of the conversation between Yajnavalkya, Gargi and Maitreyi, Krishna's qualities are described by means of indirect presentation, lakshana vritti, and at the end the super-excellence of Krishna is established by means of direct presentation, mukhya vritti. The eternal pastimes, Nitya Lila of Bhagavan, are sometimes indicated in the Vedas by the direct expression of the words, and in many places the indirect approach describes the glories of Brahman and Paramatma. In fact, it is the pledge of all the Vedas to describe Sri Krishna's glories. Brajanath. Babaji Mahashai, there is no doubt that Bhagavan Sri Hari is Paratattva, but what is the position of the Devatas, such as Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Surya and Ganesh? Please be merciful and explain this to me. Many Brahmanas worship Mahadev as the highest Brahmatattva. I took birth in one such Brahmana family, so I have been hearing and saying this from my birth until now. I want to know the actual truth. Babaji, I shall presently describe to you the respective qualities of the ordinary living entities, the worshipable Devatas and Devis, and of Sri Bhagavan. Through the gradation of their respective qualities, you can easily understand the truth regarding the supreme object of worship. These are the qualities of Sri Krishna, the supreme hero. He is endowed with delightful, charming bodily limbs, endowed with all auspicious characteristics, beautiful, radiant, strong, and eternally youthful, conversant with many kinds of astonishing languages, truthful, a pleasing speaker, eloquent, intelligent, learned, resourceful, expert in relishing mellows, clever, expert, grateful, very firm in his vows, an astute judge of time, place, and circumstance, a seer through the eyes of Shastras, pure, self-controlled, steadfast, forbearing, forgiving, inscrutable, sober, equipoised, munificent, virtuous, chivalrous, compassionate, respectful to others, amiable, modest, shy, the protector of surrendered souls, happy, the well-wisher of his bhaktas, controlled by prem, the benefactor of all, the tormentor of his enemies, famous, beloved by all, partial to the side of the sadhus, the enchanter of women's minds, all worshipable, all opulent, superior to all, and the controller. These 50 qualities are present in Bhagavan Sri Hari to an unlimited degree, like the unfathomable ocean. They are present to a minute degree in the jivas, whereas they are fully represented in Purushottam Bhagavan. Another 5 of Krishna's qualities are present in Brahma, Shiva, and other devatas, but not in ordinary jivas. He is always situated in his Swarup. He is omniscient. He is ever fresh and new. He is the concentrated form of existence, knowledge, and bliss, and he is served by all mystic opulences. These 55 qualities are partially present in the devatas. Lakshmipati Narayan has an additional 5 qualities. He possesses inconceivable potencies. Innumerable universes are situated within his body. He is the original cause or seed of all avatars. He awards gati, a higher destination, to those whom he kills, and he can attract even those who are atmarama, satisfied within the self. These additional 5 qualities are not present in Brahma or Shiva, but they are wonderfully present in Sri Krishna in their most complete form. Besides these 60 qualities, Sri Krishna himself has 4 extra qualities, namely, he is like a vast ocean teeming with waves of the most astonishing and wonderful leelas. He is adorned with an incomparable Madhurya Prem, and thus is auspiciousness personified for his beloved bhaktas, who also have unparalleled Prem for him. He attracts the 3 worlds with the marvelous vibration of his Venu, bamboo flute, and the resplendent Rupa, beauty of his transcendental form is unparalleled, charming and astonishing to all moving and non-moving entities in the 3 worlds. Lila premna prayadikyam madhurye venurupayaho ityasadaranam proktam govindasya chatustayam. Sri Krishna's 64 qualities and symptoms have been described, including Lila Madhuri, Prema Madhuri, Venu Madhuri, and Rupa Madhuri. These are 4 extraordinary qualities that he alone possesses. These 64 qualities are fully and eternally manifest in Sri Krishna, who is the embodiment of Sat Chit Ananda. The last 4 qualities are present only in Sri Krishna's Swarup, and not in any of his other pastime forms. Apart from these 4 qualities, the remaining 60 qualities are brilliantly situated in their complete and fully conscious state in Sri Narayan, who is the embodiment of transcendence. Setting aside the last 5 of these 60 qualities, the remaining 55 are present to some extent in Shiva, Brahma, and other devatas, and the first 50 qualities are present to a very limited degree in all jivas. The devatas, such as Shiva, Brahma, Surya, Ganesh, and Indra, are endowed with Bhagavan's partial qualities in order to run the affairs of the material universe. They have received a special measure of Bhagavan's opulences to do this, so they are considered one type of special incarnation. The inherent and constitutional nature of all these devatas is that they are Bhagavan's servants, and many jivas have obtained Bhagavad Bhakti through their mercy. Since they are so much more qualified than other jivas, they are also considered to be among the worshipable deities of the jivas, depending on the jiva's qualification and level of consciousness. Performing their puja is therefore considered a secondary limb of the rules and regulations of Bhagavad Bhakti. They are always worshipped as the gurus of the jivas, for they mercifully bestow upon them one-pointed Krishna Bhakti. Mahadev, the Ishvara of all the Devas, is so complete in Bhagavad Bhakti that he is perceived as non-different from Bhagavad Tattva. Thus ends the 13th chapter of Jaiva Dharma entitled Pramana and Prameya.